Hi everyone, welcome back to the Austinoid review here at Deathstryke Media. Been far too long since I posted a review, but summer movie season is starting to heat up, so we're getting the channel back up and running. The summer heat is also starting to arrive, so my usual plea to any non-Texans considering moving to Austin, Texas, we're going to have about 35 days total of triple-digit heat and humidity this summer, so it's not too late for you to reconsider moving to Austin, Texas, and allowing us natives to have more room in our hometown. Trust me, you'll be happier someplace else. Anyway, here today to talk about Solo, a Star Wars story, the latest in the Disney line of movies that hits theaters this weekend, Memorial Day weekend. Looking at my notes real quick to get my bearings. I did want to briefly reintroduce myself because I'm the guy on this channel who's kind of the more casual Star Wars moviegoer. I, of course, grew up with the original trilogy. I was let down by the prequels, but maybe not as let down as other people were. I appreciate them for what they were, which were big special effects extravaganzas. But I'm not one of those folks who treats these movies with the kind of reverence that other people do. I certainly don't consider them a religion, or that the original trilogy is some kind of deep tale that is as thick and as telling as, I don't know, Catholicism or something. But these movies are fun, they're great to watch, and so I go in with very moderate expectations, as I did with this movie, Solo, a Star Wars story, which I think henceforth I'm just going to call Solo. So how did I enjoy Solo? Well, let me put it to you this way. Solo is not a Star Wars movie. It does not feel like a Star Wars movie. However, whereas a lot of people use that particular phrase as an insult or something that just talks down these current movies, or something that says that the current management is out of sync with the fan base, I actually mean that as a compliment. I'm glad this didn't feel like a Star Wars movie. This, to me, oddly enough, felt more like this movie, J.J. Abrams' 2009 Star Trek film. And let me tell you why. In 2009, that movie, Star Trek, came out, and I remember talking to some folks at the time, and they said it was a fun movie that reintroduced the original series characters, but didn't have that Star Wars feel to it. There were no moments where they were debating the Prime Directive or making moral arguments, questioning what was right and what was wrong. All these mini and weighty issues about space exploration. It was just a pretty straightforward action flick that also served as a sort of reboot to the timeline. It was a very well put together movie. I think one of the strongest in the franchise. Now, is Solo as good as the 2009 Star Trek film? No, it is not. Brief aside that I'll talk about later in the spoiler section, and just in case I didn't get that out of the way, this is a spoiler-free review of Solo. But just to get one minor thing out of the way, there is a certain plot point that I think that they definitely borrowed from the 2009 Star Trek movie. I won't say which one, obviously. I won't exactly call it a ripoff. I'm hoping it's a case of imitation being a form of flattery. But like I say, we will talk about that later. If you've seen the movie, you probably know what I'm talking about. Hopefully. But an odd thing occurred to me as I left the theater having watched Solo. I don't think that the words Jedi or Force were spoken even once in Solo. A lot of the core elements of the Star Wars saga films, or even Rogue One, the previous standalone movie, were absent. They didn't really dive into the things you would expect in a Star Wars movie. And again, I'm perfectly okay with that. It was nice to have a break from those themes, which are covered over and over again in the movies that we've seen before. And so I kept thinking, well, if this doesn't feel like a Star Wars movie, what exactly does it feel like? I think that if you're a fan of the TV show Firefly or its movie incarnation Serenity, you will definitely recognize character elements from those films, and that Solo actually turns out to be a very good, entertaining space western. Far be it from me to criticize drinking coffee, but it does kind of bring up your stutter if you're trying to make a movie review. But nevertheless, drink more coffee. It's good for you. But Solo, very good space western. How did Alden Ehrenreich do as Han Solo? I liked him in the part. I warmed up to him as the movie progressed. I think that James Waddington, our founder here at Deathstryke Media and all-around good guy, put it best when he said, when you look up at the big screen, you see Han Solo. You're not seeing a guy trying to be Harrison Ford. You just see Han Solo. And I would more or less agree with that. I don't think Alden Ehrenreich was quite as charming as Harrison Ford can be in that role, in the role of Han Solo, but he did a commendable job. And almost gave something else away, but I'm not going to. Looking back at my notes, gonna have another sip of coffee. Coffee also helps you think. One other important element of Solo that I think it got right, that most definitely the Star Wars prequels did not get right, is that it has a very natural connection to the original films. When you watch the prequels, stuff that appears in it like the Clone Wars, or how Obi-Wan got that lightsaber from Anakin, stuff that was hinted at in the original 1977 movie didn't quite click with the way they appeared in the prequels. That sounded convoluted, so I'm going to rephrase that. Stuff that was referenced in the original 1977 movie that appeared in the prequels didn't seem to match up with the way they were described. It just felt like George Lucas forgot the stuff that he had written in 1977 and just kind of put them in there because he felt he had to. I always like when movies respect the continuity that has been laid out before them. Kind of like, brief aside, when they made that prequel to John Carpenter's The Thing back in 2011, the discovery of the ship does not play out the way it was depicted in John Carpenter's film, the 1982 movie, and that bothered me a heck of a lot. And so Solo does get one thing right in that it respects the continuity established in the original picture, and it does reference plenty of events that have been referenced by Star Wars fans over and over again. And so the fact that it gets that stuff right, I think, deserves a lot of respect. So all that being said, having enjoyed the movie and the characters and the look and feel of it, I do want to list a few things I didn't quite care for. Unfortunately, a lot of it is spoilery, so I'm only going to make thinly veiled references to them. There are a couple characters they do not give very much to do. They appear on screen and they're there for a little while. They do their contribution to the plot, and that's about it. Definitely could have used more time dedicated to them. Some of the dialogue felt a little exhibitional, a little too technocratic, but I mean, it's a Star Wars movie, go figure. Some of the action shots were a little too close up, and the shots a little too quick, so it was kind of hard to tell, what exactly was happening in a few scenes, but that's happened in other pictures before, like Batman Begins or the Jason Bourne films. Could have used less of that. Some things I'm more 50-50 on. Again, it's kind of spoilery, especially one kind of spoilery thing near the end. How am I going to describe it? I understand what happened and why it happened, and it did make a necessary contribution to the way the movie ended. That being said, I can understand why, or I'll have to talk about it in the spoiler section for you to understand, or for me to properly communicate why it didn't quite gel with me completely. So in conclusion, Solo is a very good space western that takes place within the Star Wars continuity, even though it doesn't have the usual story elements that we expect from a Star Wars movie. But that's all well and good, folks. It's a nice action adventure movie. Is it one that I would go so far as to buy on home video? Maybe, which is something I can't quite say for some of the other recent Star Wars movies that have come out since 2015 in this new line of movies that have been released. So anyway, I shall leave it at that. I hope you enjoyed the movie, and if you did not, that's okay.